All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. A quick bit of housekeeping before we get started. Please mute yourself so that extraneous noise in your space doesn't interfere with today's program and other people's experience. So if you could push the little, find your mute and push mute so that noise, the background noise doesn't interfere, I would appreciate it. You can unmute if you have questions at the end of the program. And here we go. My name is Karen Brownlee, and I am the Adult Program Coordinator at the North Suburban YMCA. In that role, I bring a variety of programs to adults in our community, including social networking opportunities, donation drives, brain games, and the Adult Education Series, which you are attending today. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the second in our 6th monthly meditation series hosted by Dr. Paul Nevin. Dr. Nevin holds a doctoral degree in clinical psychology and a master's degree in developmental psychology and is a trained wellness coach through the Mayo Clinic. He owns Heartlight Psychological Services in Bannockburn, which he runs with his wife, Carrie. In addition, Dr. Nevin has extensive training and experience with meditation and has worked with meditation practitioners all over the world for more than 4 decades. Am I right about that, Dr. Nevin?
That's right.
That's what I thought. He will give you more details about himself, but I want to thank him for bringing meditation to you through the North Suburban YMCA for more than 3 years now. Dr. Nevin has been a wonderful addition to Y programming, and I know that many people appreciate his meditation programs, especially now. Today's program is being recorded and will be available on the North Suburban YMCA website as a podcast on the Adult Education Series page. However, I'm excited to tell you that that's going to change. You are among the first to learn that the Adult Education Series is changing its name to the YMCA Education Series, which will be called YES. And through YES, we will be bringing in more programming to serve not only adults, but people of every age. We'll be hosting a wider variety of educational opportunities, including social justice and equity programs, options for youth and young adults, intergenerational programs, and educational forums to provide more community connections and collaboration. All of these programs will continue to be free and open to the public. And as a 501c3 charity, we do rely on fundraising to help us serve the community. If you enjoyed today's presentation and want to help us continue to offer free programs like this, we welcome your donations to the North Suburban YMCA. You can visit our website at nsymca.org to donate and see all that we are doing and planning. Enough about the why. Thank you for listening. And though I'm excited about the upcoming changes, I realize that you are here to meditate. So with no further ado, I give you Dr. Paul Nevin. Thank you, Dr. Nevin, and I will let you take it from here.
Thank you very much. And it sounds exciting. I'm glad you got that launching. That's great.
Yeah, me too. I'm very excited. Thank you.
I'm going to skip an additional spiel about myself because I see mostly familiar faces here. I think at this point we're kind of gravitated towards a meditation group where people return. So I'm just going to kind of launch right in. I have been doing this for a long time, and I would say at this point I've dabbled in enough different things and done enough different things that the hard part about doing a talk like this isn't finding material that we could be introducing, is to kind of try to find a good match between what you folks want and what I could offer to you. So I invite you again as we go forward. Anytime you want to use, I think at the end, Karen always puts up my information from my website, including my email. And at the end, if you want to take down my email and send any kind of requests, something you'd like to know more about, a detail you'd like to hear about, a particular kind of meditation, if it's, you know, in my, yeah, there we go. So it's pnevin@me.com. Right now, that's the fastest way to reach me because I'm working from home and going through the website. I will get it, but probably not as quickly. And if you have any comments, any questions, let me know if it's something personal, if you want me to contact you back. Otherwise, I'll try to address it during these monthly things. If you have a particular kind of meditation that you've heard about or a question about meditation, let me know. As we go forward, I'm going to continue to do, at least for now, shorter meditations. I think as we get towards the end of this 6-month period, I might try to guide you towards longer practices and more self-directed practices. But for today, I think we're going to again have at least probably 2 or 3 and maybe even more sort of briefer mini meditations. I wanted to begin with a little bit of intro material too, because a lot of times people have questions about just the how-to of meditation, and I want to kind of address some of those things here and there as we go along. And I wanted to talk a little about how do you sit, what should your posture be, that kind of thing. We've talked before about that meditation can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, and at least one important division that you can make is between what I would call relaxation practices, which is often what is meant in my field of psychology when people talk about meditation. They're talking about something to calm the central nervous system, something to calm the heart and mind. If you're doing that kind of a practice, really you can have any position you want. If you want to put a meditation on that you found on a recorded device or on YouTube or whatever, or even if you want to guide yourself, you can do it as you're falling asleep. You can lie down in bed. You can be in whatever position is comfortable to you. For many other forms of meditation, particularly where you're kind of trying to train an awake stillness in the mind, you're trying to find this combination, this sweet spot where being awake meets being calm. For that, there's often the idea that you don't want to go into a more sleepy state, that you want to stay alert without being tense. For that, oftentimes the suggestion is to have a posture where you're either cross-legged, if you can manage that, on the floor, or for most Americans, sitting upright in a chair with your feet planted firmly on the ground. So you want to have a sense of being rooted to the ground, and then you want your spine to be relaxed, but basically fairly straight and erect. The hands can be in a number of different places. You can either place them down on your knees, up towards the ceiling with the backs of your hands on your knees. You can join them like in a prayer position of some kind. And there are other more like what some would call mudras, particular hand positions, like where you specifically connect certain points. We may go over those in more detail at some point in a future practice. But whatever is comfortable for joining your hands together or having your hands laying on your knees is fine. For the head, you want the head to feel as if it's being held by a string, but not to the point where your neck is tense. And the longer you go, the more you want to focus on just being reasonably comfortable. But there is in many of these ideas in these meditation practices, the idea that we're trying to work with the brain and central nervous system. And some of these traditions, many of them in fact, would say that there is a subtle energy that Western science doesn't acknowledge that we're trying to tap into here that will awaken the brain and consciousness. And for all of those reasons, you want to have a smooth path through your spine and up into your brain. And for that reason, here's a few things that I would add if you feel comfortable doing them. One is when you sit up like this, tuck your chin in just a little bit, which rounds the back of the neck a little bit, which prevents you from having sort of a crook in your neck that blocks the energy from flowing. So the chin just tucks in slightly, not to the point where you're bowing over, but just slightly in so there's a rounding in the back of your neck. And then oftentimes in meditation traditions, they will suggest that you take the tongue and touch it lightly to the roof of the mouth, just behind the teeth. Again, this is not necessary, but it is good to calm the mind. And particularly if you believe in the energetic aspects of many of these meditation practices, they say that that connects a pathway that goes down the front of the body, and that pathway is blocked if you don't connect with your tongue. So sitting loose, relaxed, but straight with your spine and your head hung by a string, the chin tucked in, shoulders relaxed, and the tongue touching the top roof of the mouth. There are meditation practices. I don't know if we'll get into them in this series or not. We may. I haven't scheduled out the full rest of the sessions yet. But there are meditation practices where you do either standing or moving meditation. This is particularly, you can find this if you look hard enough in any culture, but I associate it particularly with China. Oftentimes in Chinese practices, for example, I took for many years Kung Fu and Chinese therapeutic exercise class in Evanston here. And we would often start our practice every day with a standing practice. We would, for up to a half an hour, you would just stand, either just like holding a ball or standing with your hands at your side in a sort of a loose, knees bent a little bit posture like this. and then you might meditate on a part of your body or on your breath or something like that. In China, they talk about standing meditation, movement meditation, and sitting meditation. What we're talking about now, these principles are for sitting meditation, but they basically will apply in most ways for any kind of meditative practice you do. You can take anything you're doing, including moving, like walking, going for a walk. You can turn it into a mindful walk, a meditative walk. There are practices you can do. In some traditions, they say that you can be mindful while you're washing dishes or while you're folding laundry. So whenever you're doing whatever your practice, even if it's moving, sitting, or standing, think in terms of trying to keep your spine relaxed, but as straight between earth and sky as possible. Keep your head erect, your chin tucked in, and touch your tongue to your palate. Those are some basic practices. Again, if your main goal is to relax, then it doesn't matter. You can lay down on a pillow if you're more comfortable, or lay back in an easy chair, whatever works for you. Try to keep your feet planted on the ground. If you're sitting in a chair, it helps to make you feel more grounded and more energetically rooted. We're going to start today with a little bit of breathing. And I want to, I think for those who have been through a few of these series with me, you may have seen some version of this before. But there is an idea that is increasingly popular in my field of psychology. You know, some of these ancient meditation practices are being more and more specifically validated through scientific research. And one of those is that you'll find in places like India and China, Japan, Tibet, other places, that they'll have specific recommendations about altering the way you breathe in and breathe out, how long you hold it, how long you breathe in, how long you breathe out. And they're finding more and more that there are correlates to what happens to your brain and central nervous system when you make these changes. And one of the most robust findings is that if you extend the exhale a little bit longer than your inhale, so if you were counting, say if you count, what we're going to do today is we're going to start by counting the in breath to a count of 4, and then making a little bit longer out breath to a count of 6. What you find is that when you do this, it alters your central nervous system. In particular, it shifts you from being more in the sympathetic part of your nervous system to the parasympathetic, which is the sympathetic does a lot of things, but it's especially associated with our stress response and what we call the fight or flight response. And it's more about activating you. The parasympathetic is sometimes called the rest and digest system, and it helps to sort of reset you into a place of more peace and calm. This can be very helpful for a number of health conditions. It can be helpful for just achieving a state of relaxation. It's very good for resetting yourself if you've been upset, to do this kind of a breathing for a little bit after you had an unpleasant conversation or an unpleasant event or something like that. I think of it as sort of a reset meditation. Many people out there would suggest that you will see most of the benefits of this by doing it regularly over time. I find both. I think sometimes it can be very useful to my clients even to just have it as a tool to use when they're upset by something, even if they haven't been practicing it. But of course, like anything else, it's going to be more effective the more you practice it on a regular basis. We're going to do 2 versions of this simple exhale reset meditation on the breath. The first one is going to be simpler. It's going to be just breathing into a count of 4 and then breathing out to a slightly longer count of 6. Don't worry about whether it's through the nose or through the mouth. We'll just generally breathe in and out through the nose, unless that's uncomfortable for you, and then just breathe in whichever way is comfortable, using your nose or mouth or combination. Then after we do that, we're going to move into a little bit more complicated, what's called 4-7-8 breathing. This has been made popular by a natural health guy named Andrew Weil. And again, there's been some clearer evidence, even more of what I said is true of people researching this particular breathing pattern. And it's breathing into a count of 4, holding the breath in then for a count of 7, and breathing out for a count of 8. And we'll do that one only briefly for 4 to 6 cycles. But we're going to start with the simpler one. So first, just try to, again, in terms of general instructions, in most cases, people would suggest that you either close your eyes when you meditate, or if you want to keep your eyes a little bit open, keep them open a slit and find something to kind of focus on. The reason is because your eyes and your vision is very connected to mental activity, and it's hard to calm down your brain waves if your eyes are like moving all over the place and if you're looking at things and entertaining your eyes while you're trying to do this. So either close your eyes or slit your eyes and take a point to stare at. Try to relax your eyes in either event, and slowly start to just breathe without any counting at first. Just breathe in whatever way feels natural. And then slowly feel like you're breathing a little bit deeper and a little bit slower. Now we're going to begin by counting in and counting out with an even count of 4 in and 4 out. And then I'm going to extend it to have the out breath be longer. So begin with an inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Now continue that with your own counting, or roughly having the same inhale as exhale for about a minute. Just let your mind focus on the feeling of breathing and the counting. And if your mind wanders, bring it back. I'm going to lead you to extend the exhale a little bit longer. So wherever you are, start over with me as I begin with the inhale. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continue on your own, either counting to 4 and then to 6 with the inhale and the exhale, or approximating that in your own way. All right, now just breathe comfortably while I explain the next step. We're going to do the 4, 7, 8 breathing. We're going to do probably about 4 repetitions of this. This is you breathe into 4, you gently hold your breath in, sustaining it for 7, and then you breathe out for 8. People have different breathing capacities. If I'm going too slow or too fast for you, or if this is too hard for you, just return to whatever is comfortable with your own breathing. I'm going to begin by going 4 in and 4 out, and then I'm going to move into the 4, 7, 8 breathing. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Now breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once more, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now just breathe naturally and listen for a minute. Andrew Whale, I don't know where he gets this instruction from. This is not something I've heard from my teachers, but he suggests doing that about 4 times. The only thing he would do different in what we just practiced is he suggests the breathe out should be through the mouth, making a sound like what some call wind sound. So you would breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and then breathe out like you're blowing candles out on a birthday cake. And to do that 4 times or so, twice a day. He says that if you do that 4 times or so, twice a day for a month, more if you want to. He would argue, and again, I don't know where he's getting this from, but just to be straight with what he teaches, I would say his view is don't do it longer in a sitting. Don't do like 50 breaths this way, just do 4. If you want to do another set later, do another set later, but you should aim for 4 repetitions twice a day, because that's what I think he's done in his studies, and he's seen good results on things like anxiety, stress-related illnesses, generally people calming and getting into their parasympathetic nervous system. Part of what this is affecting is what's called the vagus nerve, which is very connected to the stress response and is part of the parasympathetic complex and system. And there's clear evidence that doing this kind of a practice helps to sort of reset the stress response. My personal view as a psychologist is we tend to only call it stress if it gets to a certain level, but probably a lot of us in our society live a little bit too much in a low-level stress response. Even if it's not stress to the point where we would call it anxiety or impairing us in some way, we generally are a little too much in fight or flight. Even our attempts at amusing ourselves and finding pleasure have a certain quality of fighting something or running away from something sort of built into them, because we're so in that chemistry of our brain and body. So to do a practice like this regularly can help to sort of reset your whole life if you really practice it consistently for a month or so. With that, let's move on to another practice here. I'm going to use a little bit of sound to help us to not have to think too much while we do this one. This is a mantra meditation. Mantra generally refers to, that's a term from India, where they use a particular word that they consider to be a power word or a sacred word of some kind, and repeat it over and over again, sometimes with the breath or with focus on a particular thing in the body. In our case, we're just going to focus on the word and a point on the body. The first word we're going to use is Om, and we're going to focus on the point between the eyebrows, what some call the third eye, the point in the forehead where the dot would be in someone from that culture. The second part, we're going to focus on the word shanti, which means peace. And it has the particular meaning of an awakened peace, a peace that is vital as opposed to a sleepy kind of peace. And for that, when we move into the Shanti meditation, we're going to focus at the base of the spine, the very root of the spine, at the top of the buttocks. So beginning with Om, and it's going to be about 5 minutes at Om at the forehead, and then we're going to switch to a different song that says over and over again, Shanti at the base of the spine. Let's begin with Om. Here we go. Focus on your brow, between your eyebrows. The next one, we're focusing on the base of the spine for the word Shanti, which means peace.
Shanti, 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 Shanti. Shanti, 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 Antariksham Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Apa Shanti, Ushadaya Shanti, Vanaspataya Shanti, Vishvedeva Shanti, Brahma Shanti, Sarvam 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 Shanti, Shanti Deva Shanti, Shanti Deva Shanti, Shanti Deva Shanti, 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 Shanti.
Right. We're getting close. I think we go till 12 or 12:15. I want to leave a little time for questions just in case. But I want to introduce one other thing that we might take to a different level in one of our future practices. I've just got a foot in the door today. We're going to move over to Chinese meditation and talk about what are called the dantians. Many meditation traditions, particularly those that believe in subtle energy, use parts of the body as a focus for the meditation. And a simple version of this in Chinese medicine and Chinese meditative practices is the 3 dantians. Dantian basically can be translated in different ways. It's sometimes translated as field of elixir. I've heard also sea of energy. The lower dantian is underneath the navel. If you were to put your hands so your thumbs are in your navel and let your fingers come together, your fingers just inside, pressing in with your fingers would be where the dantian is. It's sort of inside the belly, under the navel, a little bit in towards the spine. This point, sometimes called the hara in Japan, in Aikido and other Japanese martial arts and practices, is seen as sort of the center of the body, both in terms of energetics and in terms of our physical structures. And it's often seen as a very positive, powerful thing to learn to be aware of it while you're doing whatever else you're doing in your day. For example, you could be a better golfer if you could kind of keep your attention on your dantian and feel like all your movements in your swing are coming from the dantian. People who do judo and aikido and various other practices in martial arts try to keep an awareness in this center of their body and feel as though anything they're doing, pushing, punching, kicking, whatever, is coming from that center, as if that center was where everything emanated from. We're going to do a simple dantian meditation for just about 5 minutes or so. And what I want you to do is feel like you find that place to the best of your ability. Don't worry about whether it's exact or not, but a couple of fingers down from your navel and a couple of fingers in towards the spine. And I want you to feel as if there was a light there, like as if there was a star there inside of you, emanating light. And just close your eyes and feel as if you're putting your gaze down to see that light, that inner star, that ball of light, if you like. Imagine it, if you wish to, like a ping pong ball full of light in that space, and feel that it's invigorating and warming and healing your entire body. In various forms of meditation from that part of the world, from China, Japan, Tibet, and elsewhere, they would say this is literally true, that by putting your attention there, you're gathering a vital energy that is a healing force and a harmonizing force in your system. For the next few minutes, just focus on that inner light at the lower dantian. If your mind wanders, just bring it back to this inner light beneath the navel and a little bit inside towards the spine. begin to finish. Let this light now continue to glow there in your center through the night and into the dawn, and feel as though the light spreads through your whole body like a healing force. When you're ready, open your eyes and return. If you want to practice working with the Dantian during the week, sometime when you're just doing any activity, try to just be aware of that place and imagine as though everything you're doing, your movements all emanate from that place, are somehow connected to that place. As if the lower Dantian is almost like the deeper brain that sources all of your movement, your body, mind. Try to feel a connection through your whole body as you walk, or as you do your daily activities, or as you engage in exercise or yoga or whatever practices you do, whether it's a game like golf or just walking. Feel as though it's coming from that center place. We may do further practices. This is actually called lower Dantian. Some people refer to it as Dantian because it's the primary one used in a lot of medical and martial art practices. But there's actually 3 Dantians. The middle Dantian is near between the breasts in the center of the chest. And the upper Dantian is where we were using for Om. It's sometimes called the third eye in India. We'll work with some of those other centers as time goes on if we have time. I'm going to open to questions now. I don't know how to turn people on, but if you can turn on your mic, if you have a question, go ahead. And if we have questions, we'll answer them. And if we don't, we can break and go to next session. Any questions? I would ask again, if you have a question that's more private, you can always reach me through email, or if there's something that you think is too much or too little, or something you'd like to try that we haven't tried, or some question you have about meditation that you haven't heard me address, you're always welcome to reach out through email. I'll try to integrate it into these practices. Hi, Karen.
I was just going to say, if you don't know how to unmute yourself, you can hold down your space bar and talk while you're holding down your space bar, and that will unmute you temporarily. So that's an option too for people.
Okay. Let me just add at the end here what I think is probably obvious, but meditation done once a month is not the most effective thing in the world. What you want to do eventually is take this to be like, you know, it's almost like if you had a piano lesson once every week or every 2 weeks, you want to do practice between the lessons. The lesson is just to teach you how to practice. It's not to be your practice. So similarly, doing this is better than nothing if you just want to dabble. But eventually, if you want to see the results that people see in studies of meditation again and again, try to find a time every day and dedicate anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. If possible, even do that as a morning and an evening practice, and see if you can keep it up for a month or so, and see if you start to feel more changes. Most of the real documentable changes in terms of behavior, emotional functioning, brain structures, various other things, health conditions, come from regular practice over 10 weeks and longer. So think about what would be a regular practice. Ideally, you want to find a time that it's not like you have to do it at that time, but if you feel like most of the time, under most circumstances, I do this at this time of day, either in the morning or the evening, the same place, the same time, more or less, a place where you're reasonably sure of being, you know, not interrupted and able to focus. Over a time, the conditioned response of doing it in that place at that time starts to build up a certain quality of enhancing your meditation and making it more effective. So think about starting to explore a more regular practice as we do these monthly sessions. Anything else? Anyone?
Nope, I'll just share my screen again so that people can contact you if they'd like. Here's your information, and then of course the information for the Y as well.
All right, if nobody's got any questions, I assume you're all in a state of enlightenment and we can break. So
All right.
next time, do we have the date for the next one? Karen,
Yes,
is it?
the next one is actually the third Tuesday
that's
of
the
March.
exception.
These have always been on the 2nd, but next month we already had a program scheduled. Sometime during last year, I had put it in. So it will be Tuesday, March 16th at 11:15 a.m. Many of you I've already registered for all 6 of the programs. So if you're already registered, you don't have to register again. But feel free to email me if you would like to register for the others, or if you have friends, please share my email address with them and tell them to register. The beauty of these programs is that they are free and open to the public. Thank you, Dr. Nevin, for that. You've been a
You are
wonderful
quite
supporter
welcome,
of
and
this.
thank you all for coming and joining us. It's great to have a group that's meeting regularly. And we
Absolutely.
will see you just before spring, and we'll be done with all this snow, hopefully.
Let's hope.
Or
All right.
close,
Thanks,
at
Dr.
least. At
Nevin.
least closer.
Thanks,
All right, thank you
everyone.
very much. Have a great time. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.